Welcome, everyone. We'll give everyone a minute or two just to get settled in, but we are excited to connect with you today about our online Master of Engineering in Computer Engineering at Dartmouth that is offered in partnership with Coursera. And while we give people a few minutes to settle in, we want to kick off the presentation with a poll. We thought it would be a good way to start off the presentation. And we're going to post a poll that's just about what are you hoping to learn about today in today's session. We'll keep that poll open for a minute or two. Looks great with all the answers coming in. We are going to be covering a variety of these topics today. So glad to know that's what people are interested in hearing about. Okay, great. Looks like admissions and academics are at the top of the list, and this will be a session today where we'll definitely be diving into those areas. Okay, well, thank you. So some logistics for this session, we are recording it and we will send the link out to the recording afterwards, as well as the slide deck. And now I'm going to turn it over to Zofia Gatos, our Director of Online Education at Dartmouth, to take it from here.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar talking about our online Master of Engineering in Computer Engineering. We're so excited to have you here and share a little bit more about the program. Today, we're going to be going through some panelist introductions, talking a little bit about Dartmouth, and then some more about the program details for the online MEng, giving you a program overview, talking about the faculty. And then we're going to give you some course previews, focusing on the courses that are coming this spring, the signal processing course and the machine learning course. We'll also talk about financial aid options, go over some of the student services available to you, the Alumni Association and Career Services specifically, talk about the application process, and then have some time for you to ask your questions. So today, you'll be hearing from a variety of panelists. You'll be hearing from Kelly Seals, who is one of our MEng faculty. Professor Seals will be teaching the signal processing course this spring, and will also be teaching deep learning later on in the program. You'll also hear from Ben Dobbins, who's a senior content developer and Dartmouth and Thayer alum, who has been working really closely with the faculty on developing some really great assessments to help you learn and also to help us assess whether you're learning what we're trying to teach. You'll hear from me, Zofia Gatos, the Director of Online Education at Thayer. You'll also hear from our Online Education Program Manager, Ken Watson, who you'll be working closely with if you end up enrolling in the program. And then you'll also hear from Ryan West, one of the Coursera enrollment counselors. So Dartmouth is located in Hanover, New Hampshire. It's this gorgeous little New England town, about 2 hours northwest of Boston, 5 hours north of New York City, and 3 hours southeast of Montreal. Dartmouth is one of the members of the Ivy League and consistently ranks among the world's top academic institutions. It's a lively, bustling region, and even though you would be online students, we really want to give you a sense of place. Dartmouth is really known for its deep commitment to an outstanding undergraduate liberal arts and graduate education with distinguished research and scholarship, and our leading graduate schools, the Thayer School of Engineering, Dartmouth Engineering, which this program is offered through, the Tuck School of Business, the Geisel School of Medicine, and the Gorini School of Graduate and Advanced Studies. And our network really combines the intellectual reach and competitive strength of a leading research university with the accessibility and focus of a quintessential collegiate community, both in person and online. And that's really important to us, that the students in our online program really feel like part of the Dartmouth and the Dartmouth engineering community. So the Thayer School of Engineering at Dartmouth was founded in 1867 as one of the first professional schools of engineering in the country. Our philosophy here at Thayer is that we take engineering and combine it with liberal arts to produce well-rounded, human-centered engineers. And you'll hear a little bit later on about how that relates to how we're designing the courses for this program. Our approach in our engineering education is to take a hands-on interdisciplinary collaboration with a design-oriented curriculum. And the faculty who teach here are welcoming, they're accessible, they're supportive, as well as being leaders in their fields. So we're really trying to prepare the next generation of leaders to solve problems through engineering research and innovation. And our students have direct access to these faculty. And we want to replicate that in our online program, just like we do for our on-campus students. So the online MEng in computer engineering is our fully online degree program, and it's designed to be hands-on with collaborative projects that are rooted in active learning. So we are bringing our first cohort in this March. There are 2 intake cohorts each year in March and September. So we're on the quarter system. So we have these 10-week terms, and there are intake cohorts in the spring term that starts in March and in the fall term that starts in September. Our focus for this degree program is on intelligent systems, which enables students to build your mastery in the foundational technology in AI, virtual and augmented reality, autonomous robots, and self-driving cars. So we're not only going to focus on the technical skills you need for this, but also give you power skills that are necessary for leadership and impact. And our program's designed with flexibility. There are 9 courses that you'll need to complete throughout the program. You can take 1 or 2 courses at a time, and our terms are 10 weeks long. So they're short, but intense. And you can finish in as few as 15 months if you're taking courses full-time. So you'll be able to take courses online on your schedule and balance jobs, family, or any other responsibilities with your schoolwork. We've put together a couple of different sample course plans on what it might look like if you are taking the courses part-time or full-time. And again, we're going to send this slide deck out afterwards, so you'll be able to look at this in more detail. We're also working to provide these in other formats for potential students. This gives you an initial idea of how the pacing and timing might look, depending on if you're taking 1 course at a time or if you're taking 2 courses at a time. So Dartmouth is a pioneer in computing innovations. The term artificial intelligence was actually coined at Dartmouth in 1956 at a conference for mathematicians on the premise that both learning and intelligence could be so precisely described that a machine could be made to simulate it. So this meeting was really a seminal event for artificial intelligence as a field and was organized by John McCarthy, who was then a mathematics professor at Dartmouth. Less than a decade later, Dartmouth revolutionized computing with the introduction of the basic programming language that made programming accessible worldwide. So now I'm going to introduce you to our program faculty. So some of whom you've met if you've been to previous webinars, and you'll be hearing from one of our program faculty today. So we have Professor Gene Santos, who will be teaching natural language processing. He's also the faculty director of our program. Professor Peter Chin will be teaching machine learning this spring. Professor Kofi Odame will be leading our Smart Sensors capstone. Professor Jason Dahlstrom will be teaching embedded systems. That course will go live this summer. Professor Kendall Farnham, who's newly joining the faculty, she'll be teaching the FPGA architecture and algorithms course, as well as machine vision. And then Professor Kelly Seals, who you'll hear from next, will be teaching signal processing this spring, and also the deep learning for sensor data course, which will go live this fall. All right, and now I will turn it over to Professor Seals. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us today. It's great to be here with you. I'm excited to join the team and teach the signal processing course starting in March. I've been teaching engineering for about 20 years, teaching signal processing and usually communication systems. Also have taught analog circuits and digital circuits. In addition to teaching, I've done research in the area of signals related to global navigation satellite systems. So specifically GPS signals, but it's applicable to other GNSS systems across the world. How do we acquire navigation signals from satellites, but also how can we navigate in challenging environments, say if we're being spoofed, jammed, or if we have weak signals from space. So I'd like to introduce the signal processing course that we'll be teaching starting in March. And we'll start with a review of signals and systems. But we are going to focus mostly in this course on digital signal processing, or sometimes we refer to it as discrete time signal processing. We'll talk about what we mean by the difference of those two things. And one of the interesting things about signal processing, we take a perspective a lot from the frequency domain. So what are the frequency content of the signals that we're trying to investigate or adjust or filter? And so you may have heard of the Fourier transform. I've seen that in your previous studies. So we'll review how the Fourier transform will allow us to look at signals in terms of their individual frequency components, say a complex exponential or sines and cosines. But we'll introduce the discrete time Fourier transform. So how do we investigate the frequency content of discrete time signals? We're all aware that we can create signals from its samples, the original signals. So as you listen to music each day, we're listening to digital music, samples of the music, but we convert them to the analog domain, and we can actually reconstruct the signal. So pretty neat that we can take samples of a signal and reconstruct the signal. The figure on the lower left is an example of a signal with multiple frequency components. And if we sample fast enough, we can accurately represent that signal. But there's also an example, if we're not sampling fast enough, how that signal is an alias and it actually represents something else. So after our review of signals and systems introducing the discrete time Fourier transform, we'll talk a lot about sampling and reconstruction and some of the effects that sampling in the time domain, what that does in the frequency domain in terms of the Fourier transform. We'll see some periodicity there. We'll also introduce another technique for a different representation of signals, and that's the Z transform. It's you may think of it as the Laplace transform for continuous time signals is equivalent to the Z transform for discrete time signals. We'll then spend some time thinking about investigating systems from a transform domain perspective. So what do these systems and signals look like if we look at them in the frequency domain or the Z domain, for example? It allows us to investigate systems. We want to create signal processing systems that are stable. Also, if we're operating these in real time, we want to create signal processing systems that are causal, where they don't depend on future inputs. So we'll look at, from a transformer domain perspective, what does it mean to create a stable and causal system? We also look at the frequency response of these systems. What is it, which is in general a complex number. So we'll look at the magnitude response and the phase response. And we'll see that if we are processing signals and we want every single frequency component to be delayed by the same amount of time, we want a linear phase system. So we'll talk about what that means as well. And then a big portion of the course is about filter design. So as we process signals, we may want to adjust their frequency content or their spectrum. And so we'll introduce how to design digital filters, and we'll review some of the classical analog filter design techniques, and we'll show how we can transform those into discrete time or digital filters, including low pass filters if you want to smooth signals out to get rid of high frequency noise, or other kind of filters such as band pass, band stop filters, or high pass filters. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about implementation. So if we want to implement these systems in a computer or in a digital system, what does that mean, and how can we optimize it to implement it fast and efficiently? We wrap up the course by talking about spectral analysis. One aspect of signal processing is investigating the frequency content of signals. So we'll introduce the discrete Fourier transform, which allows us to look at signals that are discrete in time, but also discrete in frequency, so we can actually process them on a computer and investigate their spectrum. And we'll look at efficient ways to do that, such as the fast Fourier transform. If you could head to the next slide. This is my last slide, just to introduce. We go through a foundation of signal processing in this course, but there's numerous applications in this field. And so after this course, I feel like students will be well prepared to head off into any of these domains that apply and use signal processing. For example, wired and wireless communications. A lot of communications these days now involve software-defined radios, which are processing these communication signals. Streaming multimedia applications, audio and video, even in terms of audio, even computer synthesized music is processing these signals and creating sounds on the computer. Lots of efforts now in speech processing. How do we reduce the amount of processing required or storage required for speech? Geophysical exploration. So if you have signals with volcanic activity or earthquake, seismic activity, how can we process those signals effectively to reduce the noise, for example? There's many radar, sonar applications if we're trying to find things out there with signals. And then our course focuses on usually one-dimensional signals with respect to time, but you can also think of images as a two-dimensional signal. So a huge field in medical imaging. So these are many applications of signal processing that I think a great foundation in our signal processing course, and indeed this whole online MEng program will prepare you for to venture out to and have some fun with these applications. So I look forward to hopefully seeing many of you online in a future course in our program. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm so excited that you're here learning about our program. My name is Ben. I'm the senior content developer for the program. And so I'm working with the course professors to design thoughtful assessments. So I'm going to talk a little bit about assessments broadly in the program and then specifically for the machine learning course. We've adopted a human-centered design approach to all of our classes that place a high premium on addressing societal needs and thinking about challenging problems ethically and with the people who will be interacting with the technologies and systems that we design. And so our assessment is centered around these kinds of ideas, right? Machine learning and the associated fields are rapidly evolving and changing, and what this discipline looks like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, could be very different than what the landscape currently looks like. And so as we're designing assessment for this class, we're designing assessment with the focus of how does assessment facilitate learning, and how can we help you learn methodologies and frameworks for thinking about hard problems that are agnostic to a particular technology, such that your skills will continue to be relevant as these rapidly evolving fields continue to evolve. What does that mean in terms of assessment? Well, while we're teaching you human-centered design approaches, we're also going to be approaching assessment development from a human perspective. We don't expect that you're going to come in and see a video on a topic and then suddenly be able to understand everything about that. Assessments are designed so you have a ramp leading up to the sort of summative assessments where you show us that you have mastered the material that we'd like you to learn. And this is designed to give you opportunities to really play with the material and engage with it in a low stakes environment. We'll talk about that a little more in a moment when we look at what is a sort of a narrative arc in the machine learning course look like. And then in addition to that, you're going to have opportunities to collaborate with other people in the program to solve harder problems by working together and applying what you're learning in the machine learning course to these problems that are going to be grounded in the real world and all of the messiness that comes with that. Ken, do you mind going to the next slide? Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about what one narrative arc or a sprint looks like in the course. Each sprint is going to be covering a particular theme or topic. So we'll start out with sort of building the foundation and statistics that you need to succeed in this course. And we'll move on to looking at different methods of machine learning techniques in subsequent narrative arcs or sprints. And within each one of these, we'll start with assessments that are focused on giving you practice with the material that you're learning. So what does that look like? Well, these are questions that are tailored to teach the material that we're learning really efficiently and give you a low stakes way to engage with it that lets you really play with the material. We view your time as the coin of the realm, and our goal in writing these assessments as a learning tool is to give you the best return on any time that you invest in this course. And so these focused practice questions are going to be analytic questions that you're going to be doing that give you greater insight into how a particular concept or process works. We're also going to be getting you into our virtual Python lab, where you're going to be getting hands-on opportunities to implement the machine learning topics that you're studying in class. And these are designed to give you the opportunity to really learn the material through getting rapid feedback. So these assessments are not going to be graded on, you've got one shot at this. Did you get all these questions right? You have as many attempts as you need to get all of the questions right. And each time you go through an iteration on an assignment, you will get rapid feedback on this is what you did well. Here's an idea expanding on that. Or you didn't get this question right. That's okay. You're still learning as you're going through this material. We don't expect you to get everything right on the first try. Here are the steps that you can take to either debug a bit of code or how to approach a particular topic. And this prepares you for hands-on analytical problems that you'll be doing as sort of the summative assessment in the course, and solving harder problems in the lab that typify particular methods of machine learning. And throughout all of the course, you'll be able to then apply these to the collaborative project that's going to run throughout the course. And so that's what sort of the assessment strategy and what assessment will look like in the machine learning is. It's primarily designed to help you learn the material by giving you opportunities to play with it and have fun with it.
Thanks, Ben. Kelly and Ben, we really appreciate you taking time to give us some insight on what students can look forward to in the signal processing and machine learning courses. I am going to shift gears a little bit now and talk to you a little bit about some of the resources that are going to be available to you as a Dartmouth student. If you've been in some of these webinars before, then some of this may be information that you've heard already, but we'd like to reiterate it just because it's really important to help give you kind of a full picture of what it means to join this program and what you'll be, what opportunities are going to be available to you as a student in the online MEng program. So first, I'm going to just touch briefly on financial aid. We'd like to point out that although this is an online program, it is eligible for all of the same traditional federal financial aid that other residential degree programs are eligible for. So if you're a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, that means the typical loans and funding available through the Department of Education are going to be applicable to this program. As an international student, Coursera has done a really good job in curating a list of funding resources available to you. And so if you have not had a chance to look at that, then we would encourage you to navigate to the Coursera website and take a look. You can find a link for that on our financial aid page on the online MEng admissions website, or you can find it through Coursera through their resources for international students. In addition to loans, there are a number of other funding opportunities available to students through scholarship and grants. Nothing is available through Dartmouth or Thayer specifically, but we certainly support students in their efforts to identify those funding opportunities, and will provide whatever documentation verification you might need to help submit a successful application. Another really important piece that we like to encourage students to investigate is that of employer tuition reimbursement or employer tuition assistance. So many times, if you are working, your employer will either offer to pay a portion of your tuition or all of your tuition if you're really lucky, or will reimburse you for your tuition cost after you've successfully completed the course. This is often administered through a benefits office, so we certainly encourage you to speak with your employer, let them know if you're going to be applying, and once you're admitted to this program, it's a good idea to give them a heads up just so that they know that you're doing this in conjunction with your work. But also, you know, as somebody who will benefit from your degree as much as you will, in many cases, they may be willing to contribute towards the cost. And then finally, just to point out that in order to be eligible for financial aid, in most cases, at least for federal financial aid, you need to be enrolled at least part-time. As Zofia mentioned earlier in the presentation, part-time is 1 course per term. So as long as you're enrolled in at least 1 course per term, you should be eligible for the standard federal financial aid. Again, that's eligible for most programs. So in addition to our financial aid offices, there are a number of other student services and resources available to you. We have done quite a bit of work over the last year now in setting up resources available to online students and ensuring that all of the Dartmouth community is ready to welcome and support you in your time as a student in the online program. And so we understand that as a remote student, there are going to be some special needs that you may have. And so this is just a short list of some of the folks who stand ready to assist you in any number of capacities to help make sure that your time here is successful. There is a Dartmouth Computing Services and Support Team, and then there is a separate Thayer Computing Services and Support Team, both of whom are ready and willing to help you navigate any issues you may have with technology while you're enrolled in this program. Our Dartmouth Library Services offer a whole host of remote resources available for research, and you can work directly with engineering librarians. We have special folks dedicated specifically to working with engineers and with engineers at the graduate level. So our library services are a really excellent resource available to you to help bolster and supplement the material you're learning in your courses. Dartmouth has partnered with a organization called You Will that offers telehealth and online counseling. And so as a Dartmouth student, you have access to student wellness support. And so at any time you can contact them for telehealth or counseling needs that you may have. It may seem like a smaller thing on the list of these resources, but you're eligible for a Dartmouth ID card. I think that's kind of a cool thing. So I'll work with you as the online education program manager. I'll work with you to, if you're interested in getting an ID card, to walk you through the process to order that, and then I'll pick it up and mail it for you. Or if you're in the Hanover area, we would certainly welcome you to campus, and you can retrieve it yourself. There are a number of networking opportunities, both through Thayer and then through the Alumni Association, which I'm going to talk a little bit further about on the next slide. But these are really, I think, crucial aspects to a graduate degree program, and a graduate degree program at Dartmouth in particular, is not just the content and the skill sets that you're going to be learning from our outstanding faculty, but your fellow students and colleagues that you're going to meet along the way. And the support and networking that you're going to have the opportunity to take advantage of while you're enrolled in this program, I really don't think can be understated. And then finally, our investiture and commencement ceremonies, which at this point, as you are perhaps have just applied or are thinking about applying, may seem like they are light years away, but they come very fast, as like many things in life. And so we'd like to get you start thinking now about, if you haven't had a chance to visit Hanover while you're enrolled as a student, then maybe this is a great opportunity for you to come. Again, although you're an online student, you can participate. You are a full Dartmouth student. So the cap and the robe and all the pomp and circumstance that goes along with celebrating an outstanding achievement like completing a graduate degree at Dartmouth. So I mentioned the Alumni Association, and they do quite a bit of work. As an online student, you'd have full access to all of the wonderful things that they do. And I think many of the benefits that you'll gain from this degree program extend even beyond your time enrolled in the classes. And so there are a number of programs that the Alumni Association offers, including some of the standard things that you might expect from an alumni association, like homecoming and class reunions, and regional clubs and groups. But they also do a number of, I think, pretty unique events, like Dartmouth on Location, where they actually send members of the Dartmouth community, the faculty, researchers, other distinguished alumni to particular locations around the globe. And they will give you kind of a presentation on things that are going around on campus and research that they're working on, some of the breakthroughs that are coming and ways that Dartmouth is leading in the field of engineering. And you'll have the opportunity to connect with other alumni in your region, as well as hear about what's going on back on campus. And there are events that are specific to the engineering school. And then there are also some that are Dartmouth on Location for kids, where they do family-friendly events as well. I've seen examples of things like at the San Diego Wild Animal Park. So, there are different opportunities for you to stay engaged and connect with the Dartmouth community, even after you have completed your coursework. Another huge, I think, really invaluable resource available to you is our Thayer Career Services. And we recognize that many of you may currently be employed, may be, into your career, maybe mid-level or even senior level, and are coming back to supplement that with this graduate degree. We would encourage you to still reach out to our career services. They have a number of efforts and initiatives designed for folks at every level of their career journey. And so they can meet with you one-on-one for advising sessions. They can work with you on preparing resumes or job applications, or give you guidance and coaching on negotiating a raise or a promotion. We host a number of both on-campus and virtual recruiting fairs and recruiting events, career fairs and recruiting events. So we'd encourage you to get in touch with them early. It's never too early to connect with our colleagues in career services, and often, and keep up on the different things that they have going on, because there's a good chance that at least something that they do will help you out as you progress through this academic journey and beyond into your career. And you'll see some of the logos there at the bottom as just a small example of places where our alumni have gone to work and continue to work, and with whom we have wonderful partnerships. So we're going to pause for just a second and do one more quick poll, and I'm going to ask whether, as you're viewing this webinar, if you're thinking about applying, have you already started to apply, or if you are planning to apply in the coming week. So I'll give a couple minutes here to see, get some responses. Excellent. Okay, wonderful. So we have a good number of folks who have not applied yet, are still thinking about it. Hopefully, this webinar has given you some more to think about, and will encourage you to get that application in. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand it over to Ryan, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about some important dates and deadlines, as well as the spring application process. So Ryan, take it away.
Hello, everyone. I'm an enrollment counselor here to help you through the process of the application, any questions you have. So nice to introduce myself to everybody. The upcoming application deadlines for spring, there still is time. So you'll see the final deadline, or the regular deadline, it's February 23rd. So that is next Friday, not this week, but next week. And does give you time to work through an application. If you haven't started it yet, I will be here to go through specific questions, any help you need. I'm glad to offer. I enjoy what I do, and certainly want to make sure everybody feels comfortable with the process and the steps in the application. So please feel free to reach out. Again, definitely still time for this spring cohort, which is really exciting. And they do review applications holistically. So pay attention to each step in the process. Again, we can discuss any particulars, but every area matters. Your recommendations, be thoughtful in who you're including, ensure that they can provide some good specific feedback besides just generalized feedback. And the other steps that you can work through, just be intentional with what you're sharing. The more detail you're able to provide, the better sense the committee will have as they review the applications. So I'll be excited to help each of you for that. And then also coming up after the spring cohort, there is the fall cohort. So as you can see on the screen here, the priority deadline, you do get an application fee waived if you have it by the priority deadline of June 15th. And that also will help you get a earlier decision, which is fantastic. I'm sure a lot of people are eager to hear back on that. The final deadline will be July 15th for the classes that'll start in September on the 16th there. What I would say, the applications for fall are open now. I'm sure many of you, as well as others, have plans that usually come up in the summer timeframe, May, June, July. So it's never too early to start an application if you feel the program's a good fit for you, or if you need to talk with me with the questions prior to that, feel free. But I would encourage you, if you know this is a good fit, get an application started earlier. That does take a lot of the stress off. I know a lot of times people like to be intentional on steps. So feel free to jump in early on the application from that standpoint. But I'll be here to help through that, and look forward to talking with many of you, and some of you I may have already spoken with.
Okay, thank you all for this great presentation today. And now we're going to open it up to a Q&A. So please feel free if you'd like to put your questions in the Q&A section. We will work on addressing them as we can. And so what I'll do is I'll get started with a few of the questions that have been posted. And I should mention to you, at any point, you're always welcome to contact our teams with any follow-up questions. So on the screen here, if there's the email address if you want to learn more about our program, and then the email address if you have more questions about your application or financial aid. And speaking about application and financial aid, one of the questions that we are getting in the Q&A is about fee waivers. So yes, for those who attended today's webinar, we will be able to waive your application fee. And what we will do at the end of the session is send out a link to attendees with just a brief, simple form for you to fill out, and the fee waiver will be applied for your application. And that's for those who are applying to start in the spring term. Let's see, I see a question that I'm going to direct to Professor Seals, as this is a curriculum specific question. And the question is, what textbook are you using, if any? And it goes on to say, is it Porat, a course in digital signal processing?
We're using the Oppenheim and Schaefer textbook, Discrete Time Signal Processing. It's the most common textbook used out there, but there are multiple textbooks out there in signal processing, and certainly those can be used as references for the class as well.
Great. And the second part of that question was, is the course also covering compressed sensing, at least on passant, if I'm saying that correctly?
Yeah, this course does not have compressed sensing as a topic. That's a little more advanced signal processing topic.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Another question that we've gotten, and I'll direct this to Sophia, because we've gotten a couple questions about, as we've approached the design and the curriculum to this program. A few people are wondering, is it recordings of our on-campus classes? Have we designed these courses from scratch for online learning? And I don't know if you wanted to speak to that briefly, Sophia.
Yeah, so all of these courses are specifically designed for this program. Some of the faculty have taught versions of these courses on campus, but all of the videos that we're using are recorded specifically for the online courses. Sometimes the syllabus will be very similar to the syllabus for an on-campus course. So Professor Seals is teaching both the online signal processing this spring and also the on-campus signal processing course. So he said that it's actually been very helpful to be developing these two courses in concert. And if he wants, he can speak a little bit to that after I finish. I'll say a little bit more about the program courses. But they're all specifically designed for this program. Some of the online courses may have a slightly different focus than the on-campus courses, because this is really a program, it's a more focused curriculum to really go into the intelligent systems aspect of computer engineering. So some of the courses may have a slightly different slant, but in general, they'll cover, if there's a similar on-campus course, they would generally be broadly similar, but just in the same way that anytime a different faculty member teaches a different course, courses are a little bit different. That would be the same case here as well. Kelly, did you want to say anything about how you approaching signal processing on campus and online?
Yeah, I think the teaching online aspect helps us think more closely, more deeply about teaching and how we teach. So for example, we put an effort into the signal processing course to have some virtual labs with Python, because we can integrate that with the Coursera platform. So that's enabled us to think about, okay, how can we explore these topics? Knowing Python is not necessary. Having a programming background is helpful, but we'll show you what you need to know, and then we'll be able to visualize some of the signal processing aspects on the Coursera platform using Python.
Great, thank you both. Let's see, some other questions that we've received. And Ryan, I'll direct this one to you. There's a question about should someone attach their portfolio to their CV and or resume, and how would you recommend someone who's thinking about that? They should include additional material. How would you advise them?
Yes, great question. So you can certainly add additional documentation beyond the documents that are required on the application. So if you feel there's relevant material that you'd like to have included, certainly feel free to do so. Again, it is not required, but I know there's a lot of different ways people look at strengthening an application or providing additional background. If you do provide documentation, it'd just be helpful to provide some context to it, or maybe reference it at one point in the application, but they will see all additional documentation that's provided.
Great, thank you, Ryan. Let's see, another question we received is wanting to know if the online program is ABET certified. So this program, this particular program is not ABET certified, but it is accredited through Dartmouth's general accreditation, which is the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. We do have ABET accredited undergraduate programs, but not at the master's level, but we are fully accredited through the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. Let's see, another question that we've received, and Ken, maybe I'll put this to you. Someone is wondering if they've already applied, when should they expect the notification? If you could just talk briefly just about what that timeline might potentially look like for spring.
Sure. So we have begun reviewing applications. The priority deadline for the spring cohort has passed. It was in the middle of January, so we've already begun reviewing applications, and we are continuing to review applications up until the regular deadline, February 23rd at the end of this month, with an expectation that we would have decisions out to students about a week or so after that, a week to 10 days after that. We recognize that it's a relatively short turnaround, so we want to make sure that we're, please rest assured we are working diligently to get through these applications and make sure that we give you the opportunity to feel comfortable in the onboarding process. For those of you who have been admitted already and have accepted your application, first of all, congratulations. We're very excited to have you join the program. You'll be hearing from me within the next few days, probably at the beginning of next week, with some additional information about timing and some next steps to get yourself enrolled in the program. As the online education program manager, one of my roles is to ensure that your onboarding process is smooth and that you feel comfortable with what you have going on. So just as Ryan is here to answer any questions about the application process and the timing of that, I can certainly help with folks who are curious about the specifics of the student experience while enrolled in the online program. So for those of you who are admitted, again, congratulations, and I will be in touch with you very shortly, and we'll have a chance to meet one-on-one very soon. And for those of you who are still filling out the application, you should expect to hear within the next month or so.
Great, thanks, Ken. We've also gotten a couple questions about people wondering if there's an interview round being conducted. You want to? We don't offer interviews at this time. So if those who are wondering about that, we don't do interviews, but we do encourage, as everyone has been talking about, to make sure that your application is fully complete, because we take a holistic review of everything into account when reviewing your application materials. Let's see. We have a question that's about for signal processing from someone who's wondering what the course structure for signal processing is. Are there tests, quizzes, or projects? I know we touched upon that briefly, but I don't know if Ben wanted to just to circle back on that, if they're to talk about other tests or quizzes or projects with signal processing.
Yeah, and Kelly, it's your course, so please feel free to chime in here as well.
Sorry about
So when we're looking at assessment for signal processing and machine learning, we're not going to be having tests and quizzes. The main mode that you're going to be assessed is going to be through labs where you get to interact with the material in the Python environment, integrated into Coursera, and then through analytic problem sets. And that's going to be the major mode. We are not going to have a like overarching course project in signal processing, though we will have a collaborative one in the machine learning class for the first sort of 2 classes that are being offered.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, our approach is to stay away from these high stakes big tests. And so in signal processing, we have weekly assignments that are broken down into the problem sets to apply the material that you've learned that week, and also the weekly labs using Jupyter notebooks to be able to apply the signal processing components on the computer.
Great, thank you both. Let's see, Zofia, I'll turn this question to you. Someone is wondering if online students can participate in research with professors.
Yeah, so this is something, it's not a structured part of the program, but it's something that you could potentially explore on your own. You know, there's no kind of structured research component to the program, but you could certainly reach out to the faculty that you might be interested in conducting research with and see what sort of availability that they have.
Great, thank you, Sophia. Let's see, another question we received. Would you talk about the broader learning outcomes versus objectives that were talked about in the 2 courses so far, and specifically whether these outcomes have been synced with employers or major computer engineering related companies in general? And maybe I'll turn that to, is it something that Kelly and Zofia want to weigh in, or just or the approach to thinking about how we are aligning our curriculum with the needs of the industry?
One of the things that the faculty did when they came up with this program is use the overall concept of intelligent systems. So computer engineering is the focus of this, with the kind of focus on intelligent systems. So what are the 9 classes that we think are most applicable to developing and implementing intelligent systems? And that's what we came up with for these 9 courses. I'll turn it over to Sophia if you have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, the program has been structured to prepare those students in the program to be able to really work in the field of intelligent systems and computer engineering more broadly. Really, it's hard to predict exactly precisely what companies are going to be looking for once you graduate, right? Like so we're hoping to prepare you with skills that will be useful not only in this industry, but just like more broadly in computer engineering as well.
If I could chime in, one of the things that we're looking at as a thread that runs throughout this program is how do we approach hard problems in a way that we can efficiently and methodically work through them. And so these problem solving techniques are going to be broadly applicable to solving hard problems. Again, because so many of these technologies are rapidly changing, we want to equip you for that going throughout your career in these areas, not just for the next couple of years.
Great, thank you all. Let's see, an admissions related question that I will put towards Ryan's way. This person is wanting to know, would someone with a bachelor's degree in computer engineering have a high chance of admission to the program? And I'm wondering if you could just speak just briefly to the foundational areas that we recommend people have to the program, and that's it's certainly open to those wider beyond computer engineering as well.
Yes. Oops. Great question. Great question. So in general, of course, every applicant is going to have their own background that they're bringing. So it's hard to speak to the general admissibility for somebody. With that being said, the program certainly recommends either having an engineering or STEM related degree that oftentimes will cover skill sets and knowledge that'll be important to their program. However, those are not required. So we're going back to what was mentioned earlier, the holistic approach to applicants. If you don't have an undergraduate degree in those areas, but you still have skill sets that are important, so the math skill sets, linear algebra, probability and statistics, calculus, and then some good programming knowledge. And again, these are things I can discuss with anybody who has particular questions and are also on the website. But those skills, and then, of course, the other parts of the application, the recommendations, the resume is a great opportunity to really detail specific responsibilities, skill sets that you have through work, your education, even self-study. So going back to the original question, the degree itself, it's hard to say if it would better qualify somebody. Certainly degrees in the engineering field have things that are covered in the curriculum that will certainly relate to this degree, so it could be helpful. But Dartmouth is very cognizant in wanting to share that people with other backgrounds are still welcome to apply, and they will be looked at holistically. I hope that answers the question. Engineering degrees can be helpful just because of the skill sets that are taught in the undergraduate level, but certainly not necessary to be a qualified applicant.
Great, thanks, Ryan. And we just got a question in the Q&A about how someone can get in touch with you. So we have on the screen here a QR code that you can scan to book one-on-one time with Ryan or another enrollment counselor on our team. And we also will post the email address to get in touch with them directly. So thank you, Ryan. Let's see, another question we received. This is again the curriculum specific, so I'm not sure if the best way to answer this on this call, but we have, will the NLP and machine vision classes be able to take advantage of and publish open source models? From example, like Hugging Face, Hub, etc. I'm not sure if this is something that those on the call can answer, and if not, we are happy to get more information from our faculty and provide a follow-up answer to that question.
I think these courses are still earlier in development, so it's hard to say specifically exactly what you'll be doing in those courses. But we're trying to take advantage of, widely available tools, make these courses broadly applicable, and not just limit you to what you're able to use.
Great. Thanks, Sophia. We are coming up on time for this session, so we can take a few more questions, but we do want to thank everyone for spending time with us today. As I mentioned earlier, everyone who attended today's webinar is eligible to receive a fee waiver if you're applying for the spring term, and we will follow up with a short link to the form that you can complete to get the waiver. Let's see. Okay, well, so without further ado, I want to thank everyone again for making the time with us. Please feel free to contact our admissions team at any point. We're always happy to help provide answers and help with any questions that you might have. We thank you for your interest in our program and look forward to connecting you again in the future. So thank you very much for taking the time today.